Sarah Jenkins dropped to her knees in the frozen mud outside Monroe Ranch, her children clinging to her threadbare coat. She had 17 cents left, no food, no shelter, and winter was 3 days away from killing them all. The man standing on the porch hadn't spoken to a woman in 6 years. Every desperate widow, every hopeful bride in Silver Creek County had tried. Every single one had failed. But Sarah didn't come with sweet words or tearful pleas. She came with a proposition that would shake him to his core. Friends settle in for a story that proves sometimes salvation comes not with romance, but with raw survival. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these frontier tales travel. And stay until the end, because this story will break your heart before it heals it. The stagecoach lurched to a stop outside Thornton's General Store, and Sarah Jenkins felt her stomach clench with something between hope and terror. This was it. The end of the line, the last stop her 17 cents could buy. Mama. Jacob's voice was steady, but she heard the fear underneath. Is this the place? This is it. She didn't move yet. Couldn't. Through the grimy window she could see the town of Silver Creek, stretching out like a broken promise. 24 buildings huddled against the vast Montana sky. A saloon already leaking piano music. A church with a crooked steeple. And beyond it all, mountains that looked like they could swallow a person whole. It's small, Lily whispered, pressing closer to Sarah's side. Smaller than the other towns? Small can be good, sweetheart. Small means people notice when you need help. But Sarah knew that wasn't always true. Small also meant people noticed when you were desperate, when you were running out of options, when you were one bad decision away from watching your children starve. The driver opened the door. End of the line, ma'am. Silver Creek. Sarah gathered Lily into her arms, feeling how light the girl had become. 6 years old and light as a bird. That wasn't right. Children shouldn't be that light. Come on, Jacob. Her son grabbed their 2 carpet bags, everything they owned in the world, and jumped down first, then turned to help her. At 11, he was trying so hard to be the man of the family. It broke her heart and made her proud in equal measure. The cold hit her like a fist. October in Montana was nothing like October in Boston. This cold had teeth. This cold meant business. Mrs. Jenkins. Sarah turned to find a plump woman in a flour-dusted apron hurrying toward her from the general store. Martha Thornton. They'd exchanged letters. Mrs. Thornton, thank you for meeting us. Lord have mercy, look at you 3. Frozen half to death already. Martha's eyes swept over them with the practiced assessment of a woman who'd seen hard times. When did you last eat real food, I mean? Not whatever scraps you've been managing. Sarah's pride wanted to lie. Her children's hollow cheeks wouldn't let her. Yesterday morning, some bread we saved from... That's enough. Martha took Lily right out of Sarah's arms, and Sarah was too exhausted to protest. Tom, come help with these bags. We've got hungry children here. A thin man emerged from the store, took one look at Jacob, struggling with the carpet bags, and relieved him of both without a word. Inside, Martha ordered. All of you. There's stew on the stove, and I won't hear any arguments. The warmth of the general store hit Sarah like a wave, and she had to grab the counter to keep from swaying. When had she last been truly warm? St. Louis, maybe, before they ran out of money for decent lodging. Sit. Martha pointed to a table near the potbelly stove. Eat, then we'll talk. The stew was simple beef, potatoes, carrots. For my children. Sarah's voice hardened. If this Caleb Monroe needs help and I need shelter, then we have something to offer each other. Romance doesn't enter into it. Martha was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed a short, surprised sound. Well, that's different. Will you tell me where to find him? You can't just walk up to Monroe Ranch. It's 7 miles out of town, and you've got 2 children and no horse. Then where can I find him in town? Tom Thornton spoke for the first time. He comes in every week for supplies. Been doing it for years. Always on Thursdays. Today's Thursday. It is. Tom glanced toward the window. Should be here within the hour if he keeps to his pattern. Always comes just before noon. Loads up his wagon, doesn't talk to anybody more than necessary, and heads back before dark. Sarah stood up. Where are you going? Martha asked. To wait. In this cold, with those children. I'll leave them here if you'll allow it. What I have to say to Mr. Monroe isn't for young ears. Martha studied her for a long moment. What exactly are you planning to say? Whatever I have to. The general store porch gave Sarah a clear view of the main road. She wrapped her coat tighter, the same coat she'd worn for 3 years, patched so many times it was more thread than original fabric, and waited. The cold seeped through the soles of her boots, through her thin stockings, through every layer she owned. But she'd felt colder. She'd felt hungrier. She'd felt more desperate. That was a lie. She'd never felt more desperate than this. 17 cents. That's what she had left. 17 cents and 2 children who trusted her to keep them alive. 2 children who'd already lost their father, their home, their security. 2 children who'd followed her across 1,000 miles of broken promises because she'd told them it would be better. It had to be better. She would make it better, or she would die trying. The sound of wagon wheels on frozen ground made her straighten. She'd been standing so still for so long that her joints ached when she moved. A wagon appeared around the bend in the road. Single horse, sturdy mare, practical rig. And driving it a man who looked exactly like someone who'd spent 10 years building walls around himself. He was bigger than she'd expected. Broad shoulders, strong hands, the kind of frame that came from hard physical labor. His face was weathered, but not old, early 30s maybe. Dark hair showed beneath a battered hat, and his eyes. Even from this distance, she could see how cold those eyes were, how closed, how absolutely certain they wanted nothing to do with anyone. He pulled up outside the general store and climbed down from the wagon without a glance in her direction, tied the horse to the post, started toward the door. Sarah stepped into his path. He stopped, didn't step back, didn't move around her. Just stopped and waited like she was an obstacle that would remove. Impressive speech. You practice it on the stage. I practiced it every day of my life, Mr. Monroe. Every day I've had to convince someone that I was worth keeping around. That my children were worth feeding. That we deserved a chance. His eyes flickered to the store window where Jacob and Lily were visible, watching with anxious faces. Those your kids? Yes. How old? Jacob's 11. Lily's 6. Young. Young enough to need a stable home. Old enough to help with chores. Sarah's voice hardened. Old enough to understand that life isn't fair and survival isn't pretty, but we do what we have to do anyway. Caleb Monroe was silent for a long moment. The wind picked up driving ice crystals against their faces. Sarah didn't flinch. She'd felt worse. You said you're proposing, he said finally. Propose what exactly? A business arrangement. Nothing more, nothing less. Sarah spoke clearly, letting every word carry weight. I keep your house, cook your meals, mend your clothes. My children and I live in your home through the winter. In exchange, you provide room and board, food, shelter, warmth. When spring comes, we reassess. If it's not working, we leave. No harm done. No harm done, he repeated flatly. You think it's that simple? I think it's exactly that simple if we both want it to be. And if I say no, Sarah felt the cold wrap around her heart. Then I walk back into that store, and I figure out something else. Because that's what I do, Mr. Monroe. I figure things out. I've been figuring things out for 2 years, ever since I buried my husband and discovered that the life I thought I had was built on debts and lies. She took another step closer, close enough that a proper lady would have stepped back. She wasn't a proper lady anymore. She was a mother with 17 cents and 2 hungry children. But before you say no, let me ask you something, and I'd appreciate an honest answer. His eyes narrowed. What? Sarah held his gaze. Let him see the steel in her. Do you want a wife, or do you just want another winter alone? The question hit him like she'd slapped him. She saw it in the way his whole body tensed, in the way his breath caught, in the way those cold eyes suddenly weren't cold at all, but burning with something that might have been anger or might have been fear. That's none of your business. Maybe not, but it's the question you need to answer. Sarah didn't back down. I'm not asking to be your wife, Mr. Monroe. I'm not asking for love or romance or promises. I'm asking for a roof over my children's heads and a chance to earn our keep. That's all. If that's all, then the question you asked? The question I asked is the same one you've been avoiding for 10 years. Sarah's voice softened but didn't waver. Every woman in this county has tried to give you what they thought you wanted. Charm, beauty, home cooking, whatever they imagined would thaw your frozen heart. And you turned them all down because none of them asked, "What do you actually need?" The silence stretched between them. Around them, Silver Creek went on with, "Find a reason to say no. Something wrong with me that justifies walking away." She shook her head. "You won't find it. I'm not hiding anything. I'm exactly what I appear to be, a widow with 2 children and no options. The question isn't whether I'm worthy of your help. The question is whether you're capable of giving it." Something shifted in his face. She couldn't read it. Anger, respect, recognition, she didn't know. "1 hour," he said abruptly. "What?" "There's an old claim about a mile out of town. Jameson's place before he went bust. Creek with cottonwood trees. You know it." Sarah shook her head. "Tom Thornton will tell you how to get there. 1 hour. We'll talk properly without half the town listening." Sarah glanced around. For the first time, she noticed the faces in windows. The people who'd stopped on the boardwalk. The attention they'd attracted. "Will you be there?" "I said I would." "People say a lot of things." His jaw tightened. "I don't. If I say I'll be somewhere, I'll be there. 1 hour. Don't be late." He walked past her into the store. The door swung shut between them. Sarah stood in the falling snow, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her temples. She'd done it. She'd gotten him to listen, to agree to talk. But she hadn't won anything yet. Not really. 1 hour of conversation wasn't shelter. It wasn't safety. It wasn't food for her children, or warmth against the coming winter. It was just a chance. She'd built her whole life on chances. Chances that failed. Chances that broke her heart. Chances that left her poorer and more desperate than before. But she kept taking them. Because the alternative was giving up, and Sarah Jenkins... Sarah met his eyes. "It's what's true. Sentiment doesn't keep bodies warm, Mr. Monroe. It doesn't fill empty stomachs. I learned that the hard way. Most people don't survive that kind of learning. Most people have other options." Another silence. The snow continued to fall. "Why here?" Caleb asked. "Why Montana? Why Silver Creek?" "Because it was far. Because no one knew me. Because I couldn't stay where I was, and I didn't know where else to go." Sarah pulled her coat tighter. "I've spent 2 years running Mr. Monroe. Running from debt collectors and bad memories and the constant reminder of everything I lost. I'm tired of running." "So you want to stop here?" "I want to stop. Whether it's here or somewhere else depends on the next hour." He turned away, looking out at the frozen landscape. The mountains in the distance. The endless white. "You asked me a question earlier," he said, "about wanting a wife versus wanting another winter alone." "I remember." It wasn't a fair question. Most questions aren't. He almost smiled. Almost. "The truth is, I don't want either. I don't want a wife who'll leave when something better comes along, and I don't want another winter of talking to myself because there's no one else." He turned back to face her. "I've built something here, Mrs. Jenkins. Something that works. Something I control. And I don't trust anything I can't control. Including people. Especially people." His voice hardened. "I trusted a woman once. Loved her even. I was building that house for us, planning a future, working toward something, and she walked away without a word. Just gone. Like nothing I'd done mattered. Like I didn't matter." "Margaret." His eyes flashed. "Mrs. Thornton really does talk too much. She talks because she cares. The people in hurt us." Sarah softened her voice. "I'm not Margaret. I'm not going to disappear. I have nowhere to disappear to. That's not exactly reassuring. It's honest. I'd rather give you honest than reassuring. The snow was falling heavier now, accumulating on their shoulders, turning the world white and quiet. 1 month, Caleb said. Sarah's breath caught. 1 month trial. You work. I provide room and board. At the end of the month we decide together whether to continue through winter. He paused. If it's not working, I'll pay your stage fare to wherever you want to go. That's generous. That's practical. If you leave, I don't want you stranded in Silver Creek causing talk and trouble. And if it is working, then we negotiate terms for the winter. Spring comes, we reassess again. His eyes held hers. No promises, Mrs. Jenkins. No expectations beyond what we explicitly agree to. And no... He stopped. No what? No getting attached. His voice was hard. Not you to me, not your children to the ranch, not anyone to anything. This is a business arrangement. It stays a business arrangement. Understood? Sarah wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him that he couldn't control what people felt, that her children would get attached whether he liked it or not, that she might already be getting attached to the idea of him. But she swallowed all of it. Understood. Good. He moved toward his horse. I'll pick you up tomorrow at dawn. Have your things ready. Tomorrow? Weather's turning. Need to get you settled before the real snow hits. He paused. Tell Thornton to put your boarding tonight on my account. 1 night won't break me. Before Sarah could respond, he was on his horse and riding away, leaving her standing in the falling snow, with a chance she wasn't sure she deserved. But she'd take it. She'd take it and make it work and keep her children safe. And if that meant living with a man who'd built walls around his heart, well. She'd broken through walls before. The ride back to town felt shorter than the ride out. Or maybe she was just lighter. Hope did that to a person, made everything feel more bearable, even when the outcome was still uncertain. Martha Thornton was waiting on the porch of the general store, a shawl wrapped around her shoulders and worry written across her face. Well, 1 month trial, Sarah said. He's coming for us at dawn. Martha's eyes widened. He agreed. Caleb Monroe agreed to take someone into his home. He agreed to try. That man hasn't let anyone past his property line in 6 years, and you got him to agree after one conversation. Martha shook her head slowly. What did you say to him? Sarah climbed down from the wagon, her legs unsteady from cold and relief. I asked him what he needed instead of telling him what I could give. And that worked. It worked well enough. Sarah looked toward the store where her children's faces pressed against came gray and cold, the sky heavy with clouds that promised more snow. Sarah had been awake for hours, checking and rechecking their meager belongings, making sure the children were ready. In the back. Boy can ride there too. You and the girl up front. Jacob bristled at being called boy, but Sarah shot him a look that silenced any protest. They loaded their carpet bags, pitifully light, pitifully few, and climbed aboard. The wagon started moving before Sarah was fully settled. Caleb Monroe, it seemed, didn't believe in wasting time. 7 miles, he said without looking at her. Take about an hour in this weather, longer if the snow picks up. I understand. House has been empty a long time. I've kept it clean enough, but it's not what you're probably used to. Mr. Monroe, I've slept in barns and abandoned sheds and once in a church basement with rats. Whatever your house is, it's better than that. He glanced at her, then something unreadable in his eyes. Rats. St. Louis. The church was supposed to be a refuge for families in need. Turned out the need was greater than the refuge. Sarah kept her voice matter of fact. We left after 2 nights. Jacob killed 3 rats with a board he found. He was 10. From the back of the wagon, Jacob's voice carried forward. 4 rats, Mama. You always forget the one behind the altar. Caleb's hands tightened on the reins, but he said nothing. They rode in silence for a while, the only sounds the creak of the wagon and the soft whisper of falling snow. Lily had fallen asleep against Sarah's shoulder, exhausted from a night of anxious excitement. The boy, Caleb said finally. Jacob, he any good with work? He's willing. That counts for more than skill at his age. Can he follow instructions? Better than most adults I've known. Caleb was quiet for another moment. I could use help with the stock. Feeding, watering, mucking stalls. Nothing too heavy, but it needs doing twice a day. He'd be grateful for the chance to be useful. It's not about gratitude, it's about work getting done. I understand. Do you? He turned to look at her fully. This isn't you said were empty. Were they always empty? His jaw tightened. They were supposed to be for... It doesn't matter. They're empty. Have been since I built the place. Since Margaret left. He didn't say it, but Sarah heard it anyway. Mr. Monroe... Caleb. The word came out rough, almost unwilling. If you're going to be living under my roof, you might as well use my name. Caleb, then. And I'm Sarah. He nodded once sharply, then turned toward the door. I've got stock to tend. Boy Jacob, you come with me. Time to learn what you're in for. Jacob scrambled to follow his face, eager, despite his attempts to look serious. Sarah watched them go, then turned to survey her new domain. Mama. Lily had woken up, her eyes wide as she took in the unfamiliar space. Are we going to live here? For a while, sweetheart. Would you like to see our room? The room was spare but adequate. A bed large enough for both of them, a chest of drawers, a small table by the window. The window itself faced east, catching what little light filtered through the clouds. It's big, Lily whispered. Bigger than the other places. It is. And warm. Can we stay? We're going to try very hard to stay, Lily. But you need to understand, we have to earn our place here. This isn't a gift. It's a trade. Lily nodded solemnly. I can help. I can be quiet and good and not cause trouble. Sarah's heart broke a little at how easily her daughter promised to disappear. You don't have to be quiet, sweetheart. You just have to be helpful. There's a difference. What's the difference? Quiet means hiding. Helpful means being part of things. Sarah knelt down to meet her daughter's eyes. I want you to be part of things here. Can you do that? I'll try. That's all anyone can do. Sarah spent the next hour exploring the house, taking inventory of what existed and what was needed. The kitchen was well stocked with basics: flour, salt, sugar, dried beans. The root cellar was impressive, filled with preserved vegetables and fruits from a garden that must have taken considerable effort to maintain alone. She found dishes in the cupboard, pots and pans, basic utensils. Everything functional, nothing decorative. A house built by a man who cared about survival and nothing else. When Caleb and Jacob returned from the barn, Sarah had a simple meal ready. Soup made from preserved vegetables, bread she'd found in the pantry, coffee strong enough to stand a spoon in. You didn't have to cook, Caleb said, stamping snow from his boots. I'm here to work. Cooking is work. He grunted, which she was beginning to understand was his lead to trouble. He ate quickly, mechanically, like a man refueling rather than enjoying a meal. Sarah watched him and wondered when he'd last tasted anything. Really tasted it, instead of just consuming what his body needed. The oatmeal, she said. Is it all right? He paused mid-bite. What? The oatmeal. I wasn't sure how you take it. Some men like it thick, some like it thin. I can adjust for tomorrow if... It's fine. But is it good? There's a difference between fine and good. He stared at her like she'd started speaking a foreign language. Does it matter? To me it does. I'm here to do a job. I'd like to do cataloging, trying to understand. He watched them all the time. Not suspiciously, staring again, Sarah said one evening 2 weeks into their arrangement. Caleb blinked. What? You've been staring at Jacob for the past 10 minutes. He looked away, embarrassed. Just thinking. About the way he is with the horses. He's got good instincts. Better than most men twice his age. He loves them. Animals, I mean. Always has, even in the city. Cities don't have animals like this. Cities have enough to catch a boy's attention. Carriage horses, street dogs, the occasional cat. Jacob used to spend hours at the livery stable near our apartment. The owner let him help sometimes in exchange for lessons about horses. That where he learned to ride. Learned is a strong word. He sat on horses, walked them around a paddock. It was enough to give him the basics. Caleb was quiet for a moment. I could teach him more, if he wants. He'd want that very much. It's practical, Caleb said quickly. He needs to know how to handle horses if he's going to be useful around here. Of course. Practical. He shot her a look that suggested he knew she was humoring him, but couldn't figure out how to object. Lily, meanwhile, had claimed her own corner of the ranch. The chickens had names now. Henrietta Beatrice Martha, Adelaide Constance, and the mean white one she'd dubbed Empress Victoria, and she'd appointed herself their official caretaker. Caleb, she announced one morning. Henrietta is sick. Caleb looked up from his coffee. What? Henrietta. She's not eating like the others, and her feathers are all puffed up. Chickens puff up in the cold. It's normal. Not like this. This is different puffing. Lily's face was serious. I think she needs medicine. Caleb stared at the 6-year-old lecturing him about chicken health and seemed utterly at a loss. I'll check on her, he said finally. Now. After breakfast. But what if she gets sicker while we're eating? Sarah intervened. Lily let Caleb finish his coffee. Henrietta will be fine for another 20 minutes. Lily subsided, but her eyes kept darting to the window, watching for any sign of chicken distress. Caleb checked on Henrietta after breakfast, Lily trailing behind him like a determined shadow. When they came back, he was carrying a small bundle of feathers. It's not Henrietta, he said. It's Adelaide, and she's not sick. She's brooding. Brooding? Wants to sit on eggs. We'll need to separate her from the others for a while. Is that all? He looked at her, and for a moment the walls dropped. Just a moment. You've been more than useful. The house is... It's different now. Better. I didn't expect that. But... No buts. Just... He struggled with words that didn't come naturally. Show me. Sarah followed Lily at her heels despite instructions to stay inside. Caleb found Sarah in the kitchen, nursing a cup of cold coffee. He saved that horse, Caleb said. I could have done it alone, but it would have been harder. Maybe too hard. He needed to help. Needed to feel useful. He's more than useful. He's... Caleb stopped searching for words. He's the kind of person you want beside you when things go wrong. Like his father, Sarah said softly. William was like that too. Steady in a crisis. The kind of man who held things together. You miss him. Every day. But missing him doesn't help my children. Doesn't keep them fed or warm or safe. She set down her cup. So I do what needs doing, and I miss him when there's time. Is there ever time? Not yet. Maybe someday. Caleb sat down across from her, something he rarely did outside of meals. The thing about Margaret, he said slowly, like the words were being pulled from deep underground. It wasn't just that she left. It was that I never saw it coming. I thought we were building something together. Thought she wanted what I wanted. She didn't. She wanted something easier. Something that didn't involve winters like this, work like this. She wanted the idea of the West, not the reality of it. He paused. I couldn't give her the idea, only the reality. Reality isn't nothing. It wasn't enough for her. Maybe she wasn't enough for it. He looked up surprised. Some people aren't built for hard things, Sarah continued. They break under pressure instead of bending. That's not their fault exactly, but it means they can't stay in places that require strength. And you? Are you built for hard things? I've survived 2 years that should have killed us. Crossed 1,000 miles with 2 children and no money. Stood in front of a man who'd turned away every woman in the county and demanded he listen to me. Sarah met his eyes. Yes, Caleb, I'm built for hard things. I'm built for nothing else. The silence between them was different now, charged with something neither of them was ready to name. The month ended 3 days ago, Caleb said finally. I forgot to mention it. So did I. Guess that means we're into winter now. No more trial period. I guess it does. He stood pushing back from the table with his usual abruptness. Good night, Sarah. Good night, Caleb. He paused at the door. He built it strong, very strong, because he was going to have a family. The question pierced something and something had shifted. Some barrier invisible but present had cracked just a little. Sarah tucked Lily into bed that night with extra blankets and a kiss on her forehead. Mama. Yes, sweetheart. Caleb is like his story, the boy who built walls. I know. But the boy was wrong. Walls don't keep hurt out. They keep everything out. Good things and bad things. That's very wise, Lily. I learned it from you. Lily yawned. You never built walls, Mama. Even when Papa died, you just kept letting us in. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. Go to sleep, sweetheart. I hope Caleb tears his walls down. I like it here. I want to stay. I know you do. Do you want to stay? The question deserved an honest answer, even if that answer scared her. Yes, Sarah whispered. I want to stay. The storm broke on the third morning, revealing a world transformed. The snow was higher than Jacob was tall in some places. The barn was half buried. The fence line had disappeared entirely. We've got work to do, Caleb said, and for the next week they did nothing but dig out, repair, and restore. But something had changed. The walls Caleb had built so carefully were developing cracks. Small things barely noticeable. A hand that lingered when passing the salt. A smile that reached his eyes. A we where there used to be I. We should check the south fence today, he'd say. Our supplies are holding well, he'd observe. This is how we do things here, he'd explain to Jacob. Our, we, here. Words that bound them together, whether he realized it or not. Sarah realized it. She noticed every shift, every softening, every moment when Caleb Monroe forgot to be alone. And she began to hope. Against her better judgment, against every hard lesson life had taught her, she began to hope. Christmas approached without fanfare. Sarah hadn't expected Caleb to acknowledge it, but she wanted to do something for the children, something to mark the day, to remind them that even in the midst of survival, there was room for joy. I'd like to make a special dinner, she told Caleb. For Christmas, if you don't mind. Why would I mind? Some people don't celebrate. I didn't want to assume. He was quiet for a moment. I haven't celebrated in years. No point when you're alone. You're not alone this year. The words hung between them heavier than she'd intended. No, he said finally. I'm not. Christmas morning dawned clear and cold. It's... Thank you. I'll take care of it. Lily was already redressing Rosie, chattering to her doll about the beautiful new gown. Look, Rosie. It's Bro, who claimed to have no use for family, had just given her son something precious. Something she couldn't have given him herself. A father's promise. That night, after the children were asleep, Sarah found Caleb on the porch. He stood watching the stars, his breath making clouds in the frozen air. You'll catch cold, she said. Needed air. Mind if I join you? He moved over slightly, making room. They stood in silence watching the endless Montana sky. Thank you, Sarah said, for what you said to Jacob. I meant it. I know. That's why I'm thanking you. More silence, but comfortable now. Familiar. I wasn't lying earlier, Caleb said. When I told Lily I don't know if I've chosen. I don't. This is new, unfamiliar. We don't have to define it. Don't we? Seems like things that aren't defined have a way of going wrong. Sometimes they have a way of going right too. He turned to look at her. In the starlight, his face was softer than she'd ever seen it. Younger, more vulnerable. I'm not good at this, Sarah. At people. At feelings. I've spent 10 years making sure I didn't have to be. I know. But I'm trying. For whatever that's worth. It's worth everything. She reached out and took his hand. Not romantically exactly. More like an anchor. Something to hold on to in the vast uncertainty of what they were becoming. He didn't pull away. The brooch, she said. Your mother's. Are you sure? I'm sure. Why? Because you gave up something that mattered to get here. Because you fought for your children when fighting barn feel like a battle. But inside the house, something warm was growing. She noticed it in small moments. Caleb's hand brushing hers when he passed the coffee. The way he waited for her opinion before making decisions about the ranch. The sound of his laugh, rare but real, when Lily said something unexpectedly wise. And she noticed it in herself. The way her heart lifted when she heard his boots on the porch. The way she found herself watching him when she thought he wasn't looking. The way home had stopped being a place and started being a person. It terrified her, and thrilled her, and kept her awake at night wondering what it meant. Mama. Jacob found her in the kitchen one morning, his face troubled. Can I ask you something? Always. Are you and Caleb going to get married? The question hit her like cold water. Why do you ask? Because you look at him the way you used to look at Papa, and he looks at you like he's scared, but he can't look away. Sarah set down the dish she'd been washing. Her son was too observant for his own good, for any of their goods. I don't know, Jacob. We haven't talked about it. Would you want to if he asked? It's complicated. Everything's complicated. That's not an answer. She sighed. Too stubborn to negotiate, too stupid to see the opportunity. Sounds like he knows exactly what you're offering and chooses not to take it. What I'm offering is a fair deal, better than fair. Enough money to set him up somewhere else, somewhere easier. Man doesn't need 600 acres to run a small operation. Maybe he wants 600 acres. And maybe he wants other things now. Bishop's eyes traveled over her in a way that made her skin crawl. Things that might change his priorities. Before Sarah could respond, Caleb appeared around the corner of the house, Jacob at his heels. He moved with a controlled tension that Sarah recognized. Anger held in check. Bishop, didn't expect to see you out this way. Monroe, we need to talk. So talk. Privately. Anything you have to say you can say in front of Mrs. Jenkins. She's part of this household. Something flickered in Bishop's expression. Calculation. Adjustment. Fine. I'll make it simple. The railroad's coming. Not next year, not maybe. This spring. They're going to need water for their operations, and your creek is the only reliable source in 20 miles. I'm aware. They'll pay well. Very well. But they'll want guarantees. Long-term access rights, minimum flow commitments. The kind of deal that requires cooperation. Or they'll find other ways to get what they need. Legal ways. Ways that might tie your land up in court for years while they build around you. Caleb's jaw tightened. Is that a threat? It's information. The railroad has lawyers, Monroe. Lots of them. And they have friends in the territorial government. Friends who can make life very difficult for a man who won't cooperate. I've survived difficult. Have you? Bishop's eyes went to Sarah, to Jacob, visible in the doorway to the house that was now so obviously a home. Difficult for yourself is one thing. Difficult for a family is something else. The word landed like a blow. Family. Bishop was using them as leverage, using Sarah and her children as a weapon against the man who'd taken them in. Mr. Bishop. Sarah stepped forward, her voice steady, despite the rage building in her chest. I've dealt with men like you before. Men who think they can threaten their way to what they want. Men who use women and children as pawns. Is that so? It is. And every single one of them underestimated me. Every single one regretted it. Bishop laughed, but there was an edge to it. Uncertainty. I'm not threatening anyone, Mrs. Jenkins. I'm presenting a business proposition. No, you're trying to scare us into selling something that isn't for sale, and it won't work. We'll see. He mounted his horse, his men following suit. Think about it, Monroe. Bishop's got the territorial governor in his pocket, one man said. Any legal challenge is going to go his way. Then we don't challenge legally, another replied. Bishop. Caleb's voice was flat dangerous. You can't prove it, Sarah said. Don't need to prove it. I know. He stood looking at the charred remains, his fists clenched at his sides. Sarah had never seen him this angry, this raw. He's trying to break us, destroy our supplies, make it impossible to survive the winter, force me to sell. Will it work? No. The word was steel. I'll die before I let him win. Caleb. I mean it. This land, this ranch, this... He gestured at the house at the children huddled on the porch. This is everything I have. Everything I've ever wanted, even when I told myself I didn't want anything. I won't lose it. Not to Bishop. Not to anyone. You won't lose it alone. He turned to look at her. Really look, and something shifted in his expression. Sarah, when this is over, when we've beaten Bishop and secured the ranch and made it through winter, there's something I need to ask you. What? Not now. Not like this, covered in soot with our supplies half destroyed. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. When I ask you, I want it to be right. I want you to know it's not desperation or fear or the heat of the moment. I want you to know it's real. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. I'll wait, however long it takes. It won't be long, I promise. The promise hung between them, more binding than any legal document. But first, they had to survive. Word of the fire spread quickly. By afternoon, neighbors began arriving. Pete Lawson with extra hay from his own stores. The Hendersons with preserved food. Even families from town people who'd heard about the coalition and wanted to help. This is how we beat him, Pete said, unloading supplies from his wagon. Unity, community, everything Bishop doesn't understand. Caleb stood watching the procession of helpers, his expression unreadable. I've spent 10 years pushing people away, he said quietly to Sarah, convincing myself I didn't need anyone. And now I see what I was missing, what I almost lost forever. Sheriff Walter Price arrived that evening looking uncomfortable. Sarah watched him dismount, noting the nervous way he avoided Caleb's eyes. Sheriff, Caleb said flatly, surprised to see you out this way. Got reports of a fire. Came to investigate. Investigate what? We all know who's responsible. Accusations need evidence, danger, making you a target. Caleb. If something happened to you, to the children, because of me, because of this fight. His voice broke. He stayed talking with Jacob about horses and land management, listening to Lily's elaborate stories about her chickens, exchanging glances with Sarah that said everything words couldn't. And the coalition grew stronger. 3 more ranchers joined, then 5. Word spread that someone was finally standing up to Henry Bishop, and people who'd been afraid to act alone found courage in numbers. The railroad representatives are coming next week, Pete Lawson reported at their latest meeting. They want to hear our proposal directly. Bishop will try to stop it, Caleb said. Let him try. We've got documentation and water surveys, everything they need to see. We're the better option. It's not about better options with Bishop. It's about control. He can't stand losing. Then he'd better learn. The night before the railroad meeting, Sarah found Caleb in the barn checking on the horses one last time. You should be sleeping, she said. Can't. Too much riding on tomorrow. The coalition is strong. The proposal is solid. Pete said the railroad representatives seemed receptive when he spoke with them in town. That was before Bishop got to them. You don't know that he has. I know Bishop. Caleb ran his hand along the bay mare's neck. He doesn't lose gracefully. If he can't win fair, he'll cheat. If he can't cheat successfully, he'll destroy. Then we'll be ready for whatever he tries. Caleb turned to face her. In the dim lantern light, his face showed every year of struggle, every scar from battles fought alone. Sarah, if something goes wrong tomorrow, it won't. But if it does, I need you to know something. What? He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of him despite the cold. I was dead before you came. Walking around working, surviving, but dead inside. I'd convinced myself that was enough. That survival was all there was. That feeling things only led to pain. And now I know I was wrong. About everything. He reached up, touched her face gently. You brought me back to life, Sarah. You and Jacob and Lily. You made this house a home. You made me want things I'd given up on wanting. What things? A family. A future. Someone to grow old with. His thumb traced her cheekbone. You. Caleb. I know I said I'd wait until after. Until things were settled. But I can't want. The railroad meeting was held in Silver Creek's town hall, a grand name for a building that was really just a larger-than-average room with wooden benches and a small platform in cheers. Martha Thornton was crying. Pete Lawson was grinning. Even Sheriff Price, standing awkwardly in the back, managed to smile, but it was Jacob who said what everyone was thinking. Finally, he murmured, just loud enough for Sarah to hear. Finally, we're home. The celebration afterward lasted most of the day. Food appeared from every kitchen in Silver Creek. Someone produced a fiddle, and despite the lingering winter cold, people danced in the street. Sarah watched it all from Caleb's side, her hand in his, her heart fuller than she'd thought possible. Regrets? He asked. None. You? Only that I waited so long, that I wasted so many years being afraid. You weren't wasting them. You were preparing, building something worth protecting, becoming someone worth loving. Pretty words. True words. He pulled her closer, and she leaned into him, feeling the solid warmth of him, the permanence that had seemed impossible 6 months ago. What happens now? She asked. Now we live. Properly. Together. We raise those children and work that land and grow old watching everything we've built flourish. That sounds wonderful. It sounds terrifying, in the best possible way. Lily appeared at their side, tugging at Sarah's new dress. Mama? Papa? Can we go home now? The chickens will be worried. Papa. The word hit Caleb visibly a blow that left him breathless. Did she just... She's been practicing for weeks, Sarah admitted. Wanted to surprise you. Is it okay? Lily asked, suddenly uncertain. Jacob said it might be too soon, but I wanted... Caleb knelt down and pulled her into his arms. It's perfect. You're perfect. Everything about today is perfect. Even the part where Jacob dropped the ring. Especially that part. Jacob appeared, his face flushed with embarrassment. I didn't drop it. It slipped. There's a difference. Come here, Caleb said, extending an arm to include the boy in the embrace. Both of you. This is what I want to remember. This moment. This family. Sarah watched them, her husband and her children, tangled together in an embrace that contained everything she'd ever wanted. Everything she'd traveled 1,000 miles to find. The ride home was quiet, peaceful. The winter landscape stretched around them, still white but softening, the first hints of mud showing through where the sun had been strong. Spring's coming, Jacob observed. It is. Will we plant a garden this year, a real one? The biggest garden in the valley, Caleb promised. Vegetables, flowers, whatever your mother wants. I want all of it, Sarah said. Everything. Every possibility this land offers. Then you'll have it. They pulled up to the house as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The house looked different now. Not just a building with food in it, as Caleb had once described. A home. Their home. I have something for you, Caleb said as they climbed down from the wagon. Wait here. He disappeared inside while Sarah and the children waited curious. When he returned, he was carrying a small wooden sign. Made it last week. Been waiting for the right moment. He handed it to her. The sign read simply, Monroe Ranch, and beneath it in smaller letters, STA 1868, Caleb, Sarah, Jacob, and Lily. Our names, Lily breathed, were on the sign. You're part of this place now, all of you, officially. Jacob ran his fingers over the carved letters. Can I help you hang it? I was hoping you would. They mounted the sign together, father and son, because that's what they were now, regardless of blood, while Sarah and Lily watched from the porch. It looks right, Sarah said. It feels right. Caleb stepped back, surveying their work. Took me 15 years, but it finally feels right. That night, after the children were asleep, Sarah and Caleb sat on the porch together, watching the stars emerge one by one. I keep thinking about that first day, Sarah said, standing outside the general store covered in road dust with nothing but 17 cents and desperation. You scared me to death. I meant to. He laughed. You asked me the hardest question anyone's ever asked. Do you want a wife or just another winter alone? And now you have an answer. I have more than an answer. I have everything. More than I ever thought I wanted, more than I believed I deserved. You deserve all of it. So do you. He took her hand. Sarah Monroe. I like the sound of that. So do I. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from knowing someone so well that words become optional. What do you think would have happened? Sarah asked eventually. If I hadn't come, I try not to think about it. Tell me anyway. Caleb was quiet for a moment. I'd have survived. That's what I do. I survive. But surviving isn't living. It took you to teach me the difference. And now I'm living. Really living for the first time in longer than I can remember. Waking up with purpose. Going to sleep with gratitude. Finding joy in small things because I have someone to share them with. That's all I ever wanted. Someone to share things with. Well, you've got that now. 3 someones if you count the children. I count everything. Every blessing. Every moment. Every ordinary day that used to feel impossible. Spring arrived slowly then, all at once. The snow melted. The creek swelled with runoff. The land turned from white to brown, to the first tentative green of new growth. And the Monroe family grew with it. Sarah planted her garden bigger than anything she'd imagined. Jacob worked the ranch alongside Caleb, learning everything about the land that would someday be his to steward. Lily's chickens multiplied Adelaide's eggs, hatching into a brood of fluffy chicks that followed the girl around like devoted subjects. The railroad came as promised, bringing change to Silver Creek. But it was change the valley controlled, negotiated on their terms, benefiting all instead of enriching one. On the first truly warm day of spring, Caleb took Sarah to the spot where they'd had their first real conversation. The creek was higher now, the cottonwoods budding with new leaves. I thought I was doing you a favor, he said, taking in a desperate widow and her children out of practical need. And now I know you were the one doing me a favor, saving me from a life I'd convinced myself was enough when it was barely anything at all. We saved each other. Yeah. He pulled her close. I suppose we did. In the distance they could hear Jacob calling for Lily some game or argument or adventure in progress. The sounds of children. The sounds of family. The sounds of home. I keep waiting to wake up, Sarah admitted. To discover this was all a dream, that I'm still on that stagecoach, still desperate, still running. It's not a dream, it's just life. Real life, the kind that's messy and hard and worth every struggle. When did you become such a philosopher? When I married a woman who asks impossible questions and won't accept easy answers. She laughed and kissed him there by the creek where everything had started. Where a man who'd given up on love had agreed to a business arrangement that was never really about business at all. They walked home together as the sun set hand in hand toward the ranch that bore their names. Toward the children who called them parents. Toward the life they'd built from desperation and determination and the dangerous, wonderful decision to let someone in. Sarah had come to Montana with 17 cents and 2 hungry children looking for survival. She'd found something so much better. She'd found home. She'd found family. She'd found love in the most unexpected place, with the most unexpected person in the most unexpected way. And she'd never let it go. None of them would. Because that's what the Monroes did. They built things. They protected things. They loved fiercely and fought harder and never ever gave up on each other. The sign at the entrance said it all. Monroe Ranch. Caleb, Sarah, Jacob, and Lily. 4 names. 1 family. Forever home.